So we are going to use a prop just like my teacher did. And when he showed me back in the day, he had one of these, this is the home defense shotgun of ancient China, which he always had because he used it actually for real in the Civil War. And just lopped off a switch of bamboo for me with that. And we were good to go. However, we're going to be a little more 21st century today. So I'm going to use this for the equivalent purpose. And we'll just cut through that. And we have our prop. Alright? Okay people, I recently made a video about arm charge in the internal arts. And I got a lot of nice feedback on that. People were very interested. It's an essential point. And there will be a link to that post in the description section of this video. But some people wrote to me and said, that's great what you're saying, it's a little bit abstract, but we can see how that works for Tai Chi, it's a mindfulness thing. But how does that work for something like Shing where it seems to be much more action, it's much faster, right? It's action oriented, it's quick, it's sharp and crisp. How is that going to work there? Because it seems very much like a Tai Chi point you were making. And I would like to make the point that that view, although I can understand why that's completely wrong. And in fact, probably the best introductory bridge exercise into understanding what I really mean by arm charge. It's not an abstraction, okay? Something really you're going to feel just as tangible as dropping a brick on your foot, but it's much more pleasant. And it actually, the main insight can be derived from Shing. So if you're into that, this video is for you. And I'm going to show you the single Shing one of the 5 elements, the one that will lead you into this. Now, it will be present in all of them, in all of Shing, the 5 elements, 12 animals, everything. In fact, later on, everything. You just bring it to everything. But how do you bridge into that? How do you get the insight for that? That's what I'm going to show you today, and we're going to focus on one of the 5 elements as that bridge. And we're going to start with what's called Hung Chuan. Hung Chuan is crossing. It's one of the 5 elements, and it's not the first one, but it's the best one for getting into this. And then later you can expand into the others. Now, we're going to use this here prop, and this, I want you to understand that your arm has almost nothing to do with the action of Shing. If you look on YouTube, you will see everybody in Shing is rushing around, they're tense, they're clenched, they're just like trying to power through it. And that's completely wrong. It has absolutely nothing to do with Shing. I don't know, Shing is weird in the way it messes with people's minds and turns them around in 180 degrees, so they end up doing bad karate and missing the entire point of the art. The entire point of the art is power coming from your body, from your lower body, from your legs, and it just fills your arms, okay? You don't clench up, you don't tense up, you don't clench up. Your arms have nothing to do, really, except they just need to follow the motion. They need to be empty. Now, does that mean they are noodles? In noodles in the sense, not like this pool noodle, but noodles in the sense that they just droop and flop and have nothing going on? No, of course not. That's not right. Look at the name of the art, Shing. What does Shing mean? Shing means shape. Look, this has a definite shape, right? This isn't a U or a K shape or a Z shape. This has its own shape, okay? So there's your Shing. And then E is mind, and mind in this case means mind coupled with energy. So that is something to fill it, but it's not filled with muscle. It is filled with its simple mind substance. So think of this thing. Think how light this thing is. This thing has no intrinsic clenching or tension at all. And yet it has a kind of very light, almost empty substance. Your arm should be like this. Okay, in the book I talk about balsa wood, all right? But we're going 21st century here, so I'm going to use this. So even though this is called a cool noodle, you are not to be noodling out in your Shing. Of course not. Most people are the opposite of this guy. They're rough, tension, intense, and clenched up. I don't know why. Something about Shing messes with macho, right? Okay, so how are we going to use this thing? Well, I'm going to show you how my teacher taught me the Hung Chuan, okay? And you'll see what's going on. Imagine this is your arm, all right? And what we're going to do is, imagine that you don't have an arm except for this, okay? And what you're going to do is, you're going to use your body to move it, okay? So you're going to retract, using your body. Imagine you only had your body to move this thing, okay? Look at this. Imagine that you only have your body to move this. So your arm has nothing to do. Your arm is completely empty. It still has its shape, right? It didn't melt onto the floor when I did that, did it? It still has its own integrity. But feel how light it is. It's just being moved by your body. Retract, extend. Retract, extend. That's all it is, okay? As though you had no arm. This is the key exercise. Now, I'm not saying you all have to run out and buy pool noodles, okay, to do this. I mean, when my teacher did it, there's a lot of bamboo around. You don't have to buy anything. But I want you to understand this just from watching me do it, okay? This is our basic exercise. You see that the arm isn't changing at all. Now, in practice, there will be one arm motion, a micro motion. This is the macro motion. Retract, extend, and the micro motion is going to be a rotation, but it's very light. See how I can rotate this without compressing it or changing it in any way? That's what we're going to do here. Just like this, okay? Now, let's go over the mechanics of the entire move as a whole, and I'll show you how this applies in the full pattern. Now, let's go over the full pattern, and then we'll see how the part about the motionless arm fits into this, okay? So, on the trim, all right? We always begin from Santee shirt. That's just standard for all this version of Shing, which is 5-element, 12-element. Okay, so what you're going to do, there's only 3 things you have to do. It is so easy, okay? All you have to do is, there's something that looks like a block, okay? There's something that looks like another block, and there's something that's a hit, right? So it would be like 1, 2, 3, okay? Just like that. So simple. Starting from here. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Now from the side, here's how that would look. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now that little stomp, why do we do this stomp? It's not really for Hollywood. This Shingy predates Hollywood, okay? That is done just as a timing check. You do not stomp your foot like that, okay? You just let your weight catch up. That's all it is. It's not a stomp in the sense like this, okay? It's a stomp in the sense that your weight is just catching up. That's all it is. And it helps you to coordinate the final strike. But that's not the main point today. The main point today is, what is this arm stuff here, all right? So perhaps from the side, we can see it better. First of all, you're going to make a fist. Let's talk about the fist here. A lot of people run into trouble right at the starting gate because they're going to tense their fist because they think they should be hitting something, right? They think they should be doing bad karate. Don't tense your fist. Make the shape of a fist, but it's got to be empty. It's got to be empty, okay? If you clench your fist, you've already blown it. You might as well just go home right there. You're not going to get the effect. But you have to make the proper shape of a fist. A lot of people think, well, if the fist is soft, then it's okay just to be, some kind of oddball shape. Doesn't really matter. Loose. No. You have to make a fist that, if it were filled, it would be the proper shape to hit a makiwara or some kind of one of those super heavy bags, like 200-pound bag at the boxing gym, okay? So make that proper shape. Keep the center of it a feeling of emptiness, just in the very center of, like you're gripping a thin pencil is preventing you from clenching all the way. That's your fist. And so when we start from here, we immediately clench the fist. We keep the fist clenched. When I say clench, you understand what I just said, right? It's not real tight. And then you shoot up along the outside and rotate. So both arms are going to rotate at the final strike. So you've got several rotations here. You've got the first rotation, which is outward. You've got the second rotation, which is inward. And you've got both rotations at the same time. But that's not the key point. That's just mechanics. If you've already studied Shing, you already know that stuff. Here's the important point. The important point is retract, extend, punch. 1, 2, 3. So you saw earlier when I used the prop, imagine that's my arm, right? So we're going to retract, we're going to extend, and then we're going to do punch with the other hand. So with the lead hand, we're going to retract it, we're going to extend it using the body, and then we're going to do punch with the other hand. If you can do that, it seems so simple, right? If you can do that, you will then, when you stand, just do your quiet standing. Again, empty shape only, don't tense up or anything. But when you do your quiet standing, your arms will be absolutely reverberated with this internal power. Now, we do more than one repetition of these. You do as many as you have room for, okay? So here's how we look in practice. Retract, extend, go. Retract, extend, go. All right? And then you just turn around. Retract, extend, go. Retract, extend, go. All right? That's all it is. And you can just keep going like that. It's no big deal to turn. All right? So retract, extend, go. Extend, go. Retract, extend, go. And then you turn back. Go. Okay? So you just keep going like that. But the key thing is, you've got to keep your entire arm empty. It will rotate because rotation doesn't require any tension at all. But it has to be empty, especially on those first two moves. Of course, on the last move too. But to get the real effect is in the first two moves. Here we are retracting. Here we are extending. Here's our strike. Let's review it again with the noodle in place, okay? This noodle represents my lead arm with the fist, okay? So I'm going to retract that using my shoulder, see? Ooh. Nothing happened to the noodle, nothing happens to my arm except this bit of rotation. Then, extend it. Extend it, extend it. Again, it's just my body doing the work. And obviously the shoulder's involved because the shoulder is the base point, but you're not like projecting your shoulder. It's just that your body's moving, so your shoulder moves with it. Now you can even hold the end of this thing, okay? And then go like that. And then hold this end and bring it back. Hold this end, move it forward, hold this end, bring it back. Your waist is moving, okay? Your waist is actually what's doing it, all right? And if you can treat your arms in this way, if you can give up your arms in this way. See, the trouble is most people think, either actually boxers aren't tight at all. You people who do it this way, all tensed up, you obviously never been boxing because boxers are not at all tense like that. But anyway, I don't know why I'm on YouTube doing Shing is so incredibly freaking tense. But anyway, the point is, retract it, there's nothing there. Okay? And now, boom. And don't forget the other arm too. The other arm is equally empty, okay? The other arm is equally empty. So 1, 2. See this other arm? Bang, it's getting ready. This arm is equally empty. So when it projects, it's just the body projecting it, as though the noodle were now this arm. It's just the body projecting it, okay? So 1, 2, 3. You can remember it as R-E-P, rep. Retract, extend, punch. Then again, just on the other side. Retract, extend, punch on the other side. That's all it is. If you can do that, you will later see, because this principle is in all of Shing, as my teacher explained to me and showed, but it is harder, it's more subtle, it's more reduced in scope, not as much dynamic range in the other 5 fists, for example, the other 4 of the 5. Still there. Now, I hope you got the picture. It's really simple, right? Use the noodle if you need to understand the principle, and then you have 3 movements. It's retract, extend, and punch. That's all it is. Just keep going. Turn and go. And power yourself from your legs and your lower body. Now, what about you people who don't do Shing Chuan? Because after all, it's not a popular favorite. It's a minority art. It's an acquired taste. What about you people who love Bagua? I seem to have tons of readers, even though I never teach Bagua. I hardly ever talk about it. I have tons of readers who come from that world and who love that. Okay, and I understand. I mean, I studied that for many years. I've trained that for many years with a great teacher, but I don't get into it because there are so many great materials on Bagua out there. It's extremely complex. There are people who've written like 15 volumes on it. No need for me. But since we're on the subject today of this whole thing about how do you charge your arm without tension, with shape only, I want to just give you a hint of how that will look in Bagua Zhang. And then you can work it out for yourself, exactly how you want to practice it. This is the bridge pose. There are 64 ways to walk the circle in Bagua Zhang, okay? I learned all of them. Of those 64, I want to show you one that is the mirror, the Bagua mirror image of what we've just been covering in the Shing trend. And I'm not going to really go into it in detail. I just want to give you the hint. You Bagua people, you analytical type, you can figure this out for yourself. But here's what it would be. In Bagua, which normally what you do is, you have this circle walking and you've got your thing. I've done some videos on this, some of the basic foundation of Bagua. So I'm going to assume you know how to walk the circle and you know at least some of these changes. But what's the Bagua equivalent of what we've just gone over? It would be, here, see that? Keep your shape, keep your talking about. Put your hand behind your back, the small of your back at the sacrum. Now walk with, they call this single palm change, but this is actually both your palms are out, right? This is the real single palm change. Do the same thing, but now do it with one arm behind your back, okay? That, and then you simply rotate in the normal way with the front palm. But now you'll feel the current coming straight through from the back arm, straight through to the front arm. And then you just do your normal circle walking. You can do 8, you can do whatever. And then change like this, come back, walk your circle again, right? This, and then you change like this, and keep going, okay? Now, as you do this, concentrate on very slight rotation of your hand. What about the hand shape and motion? What you're going to do is imagine that there's a pillar or a post that you're walking around. After all the circles walking, right? It's right in the center. What you're doing is walking around it, and you've got this shape with your index finger up, okay? Your tiger mouth is nicely rounded, the other finger's naturally falling off, and a bit of a break in the wrist here. Now, how does that work in practice? In the circle walk, you're going to imagine that you're very slightly, as you walk, you are rotating this palm around this pillar, but very softly and slightly. Extend, you don't have too much of a bend in the elbow. Keep a nice extension, keep a nice extension. And then imagine you've got this pillar or post, and you are very softly. Don't go too far, don't go like this, see? Then you've exceeded the pillar or the post. Just a little bit. So that when you begin, let's say you do your change, okay? You do your change. You come here, you're going to begin now. Look, my palm is facing me as I begin. And it begins to turn, but very slightly, so that I never end up like that, okay? When I hit number 8 step, which is the final step, and then I'm going to change, I don't want to be like this, okay? I want to be just about halfway like that. Don't go like that, okay? So I'm not going to get into all the details of the Bagua version of this, but you Bagua types of deep, a word to the wise is sufficient. So having seen this idea here, now you'll be able to feel the rest of it for yourself.